This morning, when we started this exercise, we looked at the various pricing strategies and discussed a number of them in different ways and what are the issues associated with those pricing strategies. So just by way of recap, I want to indicate to you that the first pricing strategy we looked at is that of pricing to your competition or pricing to your market. And that's simply looking at what other people are doing and trying to repeat it. It has its implications because you may not be able to meet their cost structures and you may find yourself selling at a loss, or find yourself just going after what they are doing and following the market. And in some cases, we want to be leaders and therefore we want to lead the market rather than just simply follow. So from a price and what your competitors, you look at what everybody else is doing and trying to figure out and say, okay, that's my price. But that's not the best way of doing it. Some people also look at what competitors are doing and look at 5 or 6 top competitors and come up with an average. And that's one way of doing it. We also looked at the issue of pricing to pay the bills. We'll talk about that in a minute. As we got into the presentation this morning, I was not looking at all the questions that we were getting, but before this evening is out, I will go back through those questions, but I'm not seeing them on my system. Oh, well, I can't. But we'll try and see what we can do in terms of answering some questions, and that's why we will go through and talk. And if you have more questions, we can answer them by your messenger that you have there. The other part of the pricing that we're looking at is pricing by time. Pricing by time is where we cost time that we are doing something, and based on the time, we then price what we are pricing it at. There's a disadvantage to this because the more time you spend, the more you want to charge, and therefore your customers might not be happy with you. And therefore you want to find yourself to be in a competitive place. You might have to adjust that type of pricing arrangement in the market. Some professions are good with that in terms of the accountants and the lawyers will price the time, others don't. With regard to cost plus pricing is you go to the sense of what it costs and then you just put on your margin on it and be able to say to your market, this is what you're going to be selling at. You need to be competitive, and therefore you'll want to be sure that you are still at a place in the market where you can get a good share of the market. Your audio, there's audio on. Hello? Hello, there's audio on. Did somebody take off your mic? Yes, the next form of pricing is pricing to the package. So you're offering various packages, giving value, of course. You may price your package, but add it to put some bundles into it so that it's become more attractive to the customer as to why they would take your package. You see this in what, let's say, the telecom companies were doing in terms of bundling a package to make it attractive to you to buy those packages. Some people when you're doing websites and developing websites, the bidding of the package is one thing, but I would throw in social media and I'll give you a domain name and put the things together so that people get greater benefit and value. In the context of the creative industry, you may want to look and see how you can package and give the client some benefit. You can link. One way of doing it is that as a designer could link with those who have the enhanced skills, and therefore you can combine and provide a one-stop shop that I do everything in one, and the client gets the benefit of design, construct, deliver, and into market in one fell swoop. So it's how we want to look at it. And the last method of pricing would be pricing, penultimate, pricing to some position in the market. If you're a market leader, you have a good experience, good knowledge, good skill, and then expertise, then you can price based on your position. And in that way, you can probably price a bit higher. But if you're not, you may not be able to do that, and that requires some time and effort. The risk associated with this is that your reputation could be shot, and all of a sudden it is gone. So it's a bit, you've got to be very sensitive as to how you do this thing and pricing based on position. And the last one is pricing based on value and the value that you give. High price items, high price capabilities, high price skill is charged at a high price, and that's it. Now remember what we are saying. In any one business, should have an overall pricing strategy, but what you may find is that you may have a combination of these things working all at the same time because of various market segments that you're working in. So you need an appreciation and an understanding of how you do that. By way of recap also, as I said to you, you will have this template in your coming to you via the email. Try to use it and try to make sure that you begin to practice with it. By experience, you do not get the hang of it, let's say in the first go. Good luck to you if you do, that would be nice. But try to use it and reuse it and update it. And as you go along, you'll find as you refine it, you begin to understand it better and better, and you are able to deliver it and get an understanding of your pricing properly. The material cost is put forward there first. You have different elements of material, different types of materials. We want the yard, the quantity, and of course a unit price and a value, the lining and the interfacing and stuff, a price and a value. And then of course the trimmings and what trimmings that you'll have in terms of the pads, the buttons, zippers, etc., how much you're using for the particular unit. It's also catered for here that you are able to provide a sketch. You can put a sketch at the front or the back of the relevant document. You go through all the relevant trimmings, then you have outside services that you may require. Even going to the laundry perhaps can be included here as to what that will be. And of course, you have your labor cost and cutting and sewing elements of your cost to get your total cost. What margin you choose to put on your product, it's your choice based on the competitive nature of your business, and of course, your ultimate selling price. If you use this template or anyone similar to this one, you can build it and refine it over a period of time and then best understand your costing. More important, it becomes part of your record that you keep, and therefore you can review and revise and check and update your costing to ensure that you have your right pricing arrangements as you go forward. In the business that you all are in, even in doing your own designs, it's absolutely important that you have for the designs that you have done some kind of costing structure that you are able to at least know what's your minimum cost you want to recover. So we have done this one. This is one that you'll get. I want to now look at see whether or not we can get back to where we are with the videos. So let's see how we go with these things. Yes. And you will let me know via the chat screen whether or not you're hearing or the video is supposed to have audio because I'm hearing it on this side, and I can't seem to figure out why you're not hearing it. Let me just try something else and see if you get. Let me know if you're hearing that video because that's the next one. If you're not into the videos, you'll be challenged. Are you hearing this one? Oh, we are not hearing. I'm hearing that we are not. Let me see. All the videos have audio. All the videos have audio. Wow. Well, here's what we do, and this might be a short way of doing this. Here's what we do. Let me, in the context of the slides that we are sending, I am going to send the links to you all, and I would advise that you look at those links. Let me try one more solution to see if it works.
Productive things that you can do is actually develop a skill set. Because when this is over, this thing is over, and it will be over, it's only a matter of time. The world will start spinning again. What are you gonna do, right? Maybe you prepare to go after that new opportunity, or maybe go after that other job that you always wanted, or maybe go for that new promotion, or go start that new business. Whatever you want to do after this crisis, what will allow you to do a lot of those things on your skills. I believe during this lockdown, some of the most valuable skills that you could develop, that you could learn, meet these four criteria. Number one, a skill set that has an immediate impact on your life, your career, or your business. Not as
We are getting audio difficulties. Are we hearing me? Introduce that to you and add some more to it in relation to pricing and costing. We were talking before with regard to the pricing and costing strategies. And I thought I wanted to link this back to this whole issue of what's happening with us in the world today. Your business is changing. And for you to understand how to change that business of yours, you need to understand the various cost elements and the strategies that you need to employ in terms of your pricing strategies. But more important than this too, is that the businesses that you all will have of tomorrow will not necessarily run in the way it is running today. So for those of you who are designers and for those of you who have the skill sets, you may want to look at how that business is transferred to the online platforms, customer base, with regard to be such that the customers out there prefer cheaper products, small, not so good products. But to me, you will find that as we go forward, the markets are going to be bigger, the markets are going to be available, but the products that the customers will be demanding will be a lot different, and you all will need to be very clear as to your costing and your prices, because it will be the world will be so small that we'll have to be very price competitive. In order to do that, from now, start looking in more detail at the pricing and costings that you have. I am losing my screen. Why? Yes, so that the slides, the two videos that we have presented for this afternoon, I have sent that to you on the system. You'll also get it in the email submissions that you're going to get. With regard to my contact information, it's there on the chat. It will also come to you in the information that's being sent to you. Feel free to contact me, and if you have a question with regard to your costing and pricing, let's do that. You will also find that your costing and pricing will only get better over time. You will not be in a place from day one to understand and perhaps appreciate all the various pricing elements. But as you practice what you have, you will be in a better place to appreciate the pricing. Now we're going to do something, and the technology is getting the better of me all over. Let's take this one out. Thank you. Let us not getting all over the place. Right. So in the final form then, please be mindful of your pricing strategies and what you do. The videos, 2 videos that I've sent to you, I would like you to look at both of them. Both are important with regard to the issue of the costing card or the cost sheet. Please look at it and try to practice and put in place some kind of costing for the work that you're doing. Every design is a different cost element. Every dress, every pants is a different costing. Sit down and work out the costings for these units of product. And in that way, you can look at how you can produce that one unit, but also examine the technologies that may be available to allow you to do that in multiple ways and multiple spaces. I'm looking at the chat now, and if there are any questions still pending, could we deal with the questions that are pending, if there are any? We dealt this morning with a number of things where we talked about the break-even and pricing in the market. There was a concern with regard to how the market in Trinidad responds to pricing and pricing strategies. In some cases, quite different, but generally, you cannot execute good pricing strategy if you're not in a place where you understand your cost structure and your cost element. So at this point in time, I'm assuming that many of you have come to this program. Some of you are looking at your costs. Yes, I do agree. But the detail of looking at costs is something that you need to now address, train yourself, expose yourself, and perhaps in doing so, you will understand it better. If you have any issues with regard to this, feel free to call me. My number is there. There's no cost to doing it. I will be quite happy to explain to you online how these things are done and be able to better understand how you cost and price your products. I am stuck with the technology a little bit. I don't wish to go too far on. You have the 2 videos. If there are any questions, could I get it in the chat at this point in time? If there are any questions outstanding, could we do so now? Are there any questions outstanding? Right, so if there are any questions, so that while I wait to see what questions come up, I think everything has been well explained thoroughly. Okay, thank you very much for that. As you think of something to ask, let me also indicate to you all as you look at pricing and costing. In the businesses that you all are in as individuals, be minded that the competition in the marketplace tomorrow after this whole coronavirus is gone will be tremendous, because there are lots of people there that are not working. There are lots of people there that need to get things done. And they will want to be in a place so that the pricing competitiveness will be important. You've got to give value for money. You've got to find good sources of good quality materials at reasonable prices. I was bringing in a container recently in Trinidad, and the transport contractor charged me for keeping the trolley to a number of days. I went back to him and said, not in this environment. It was not my fault. He had to reduce his price. So you also have to be negotiating your prices as you go along. There's a question here before me. Are there certain price strategies that would work better for different products and services? It will not be answered like that. It depends on the market circumstance and what market conditions. It depends on the circumstances you have. It's not about the product. Yes, it's dependent on some things. But the more important thing is what are the market circumstances? And depending on what the market circumstance is, you will then have to determine what pricing strategies. For example, you can determine that you want to use a cost plus strategy. And your competitor is also using a cost plus strategy, but he's also decided that, look, although I'm doing cost plus, I am saying to the client, if I bring in this product before this construction before time, I want an incentive or a bonus, and they can do that, and they will find that if they do those things or provide incentives for performance, it will work better. If you provide incentives for people to finish on time or to make sure that the work is done within budget, then you can get things done. So you can negotiate those things, you can work on those things. All right. So that you can't just simply apply a strategy because of a product or service. It is not like that. Sometimes you have a combination of these strategies that you want to apply. Another question before me here is, can you just summarize the price to cost again? Can you summarize the price to cost again? All right, let me see if I understand what you're asking. Perhaps if I go back here, it will be useful for me to present something here. Let me see if I can go right back. Let's go back here for a minute. Let's go back to this slide for a minute. And let us talk a little bit about how we get that cost and price relationship. That cost and price, when you look up, there's a clarification regard to cost plus. Let me just, the cost and price relationship here is very simple. Let me go it over again. We want to, as far as the total cost is concerned, I'm looking at my fixed cost and my variable cost. And I want to look at the fixed cost that I have to expend on a monthly and annual basis. My fixed cost would be my salaries, my rent, my utilities, those costs that I have that every month pop up as fixed. And I want to multiply that by 12 to get an annual figure. The annual figure is what you see here as the 1,639,500. We have the number of volumes, and this is in the carnival band, where we say that the carnival band costumes that we'll produce for the year is 800. And if you divide the 800 by that budgeted overhead cost that you have, you will get what is the unit overhead recovery rate that you need to apply. Then you look at the variable costs that you have. Now remember, costs that are variable vary with output. So how much material would you have to buy for those 800? What's the per unit cost for the material? Then you have the drinks and refreshments. What is the per unit cost? What is the food? The variable cost of $1,600 in total, plus the overhead recovery, the overhead cost per unit, gives you the minimum selling price, $3,649. That's the minimum selling price where you practically break even. So if you want now to say to yourself, how can I sell this? Then you can choose to sell it at a cost plus. So you look at the cost that you have, and this is all the costs, the overhead per unit and the variable cost all added together equals a total cost of $3,649. Then I will want to add to that whatever margin I want to add on to it to give you the cost plus. The plus part of it is where you want to make your margin, and you are recovering all the costs associated with regard to the production of the unit item. I trust that gives you some guidance on that. If you have any further questions or comments, then feel free to you can either email me or to ask me again in the space provided. This is critical in the understanding of your cost. I want to go to over just one more time because I want you to appreciate that you need to keep good records to understand what your fixed cost would be. We know the fixed cost elements of labor, the fixed cost elements of utility rates, the fixed cost element of rents, and any contractual arrangements of payment that you may have. After you pass those, you're then now in a place of looking at the variable cost, and variable cost plus the per unit overhead cost will give you the minimum selling price where you can possibly break even. All right. And there's one last thing that we want to make sure that you appreciate, if you don't mind. I'm not going to go over these things which we did this morning already, but I want you to please differentiate and understand what your fixed cost elements are. Once you're able to crack this understanding, you'll have a clear sense of what you need to do. So could I, on behalf of Creative TT, if there are no further questions coming from you all, I want to thank you all very much for taking the time to come and listen to your costing and pricing. But more importantly, I would like you to... Hello?
Hello? Hi, Wayne, hearing you now.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
All I'm saying is on behalf
of...
I'm echoing.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit.
Lisa, could you close? Because I'm hearing it. I'm hearing echo.
Yeah. I will proceed to close. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Wood, for the excellent presentation today. As always, last week was excellent as well. Everyone, thank you for your continued attendance and being here throughout the entire time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and the rest of the time home. Remember to stay home and stay safe. Next week, Saturday, we are going to be having another webinar in Know Your Business Taxes. So stay tuned for that and the invitation over email and social media. Thank you, everyone, once again. Thank you very much, Mr. Wood, again. And we look forward to seeing the excellent slides and links to come. We'll continue to be in touch.
Thank you and good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.